To the Australian ADF now, our Defence Force. We've talked recently about how we don't have any drones, which is modern warfare in a nutshell. We won't be getting drones for 8 years. We've also talked about the fact that we're not recruiting people at the rate that people are leaving our ADF. The targets are 80,000 and we're currently sitting on just 57,000. So what are the ADF proposing? Well, let's just let the fatties join. So at the moment, there aren't many fitness requirements. Not really. They're not onerous. They're like 45 sit-ups, 12 chin-ups, less for women. It's nothing onerous. You'd think if you can't pull that off, you probably don't have your life together. But these guys have decided if we just drop the fitness requirements, maybe more kids will get on board when we send people into the schools to say, hey, have you thought about the ADF? So great, now we just get less fit people in the armed forces. And I understand the argument. A lot of armed forces these days aren't required on the front lines of battle. War looks very differently to what it used to be. But one of their arguments is, oh, well, these days, kids going to war could just be wearing a hoodie in their basement on their computers. And I'm like, that's true if you have drones, and we are having drone warfare.
It's a fair point. I think they're looking for a solution to a very different problem, though, because the reason that you don't have so many people signing up for the ADF anymore is because you don't have that national pride that would encourage you to go and defend your country.
Underpinning
it's
this.
an entirely different... I mean, you can change the rules about how you can and can't get into the ADF, but you've actually got to encourage people to want to defend their country in the first place. That is the major problem. And by the way, I mean, during World Wars I and II, when young men, underage men in particular, were going to sign up to go to war, they weren't doing fitness tests on them. They were just like, come one, come all. But the boys wanted to go. They wanted to fight for their country.
They even lied about their age.
They fundamentally lied about it. I mean, 14-year-olds were going off to war, because they wanted to defend their country, but they weren't checking whether they were fit enough to go to war. They were like, yes, we will take it.
Although to come back to that is quite easy, which was that was a much healthier society. You watch videos from those times, no one was overweight. They weren't eating half the rubbish that we eat these days and call it food, etc. and so on. Their lifestyles were a lot less sedentary and they were naturally more fit.
We'd have guys running into battle with a rifle in one hand and a Big Mac and fries in the other. But I mean, you're right.
That's America.
We've spent 2 generations telling our young people that masculinity is toxic, that patriotism is racism, and that the ADF are a bunch of war criminals, if you watch the ABC. And then we wave the flag and say, how come no one's joining up to fight? The other crazy thing is that all of this stuff appears on the front page of our newspapers. So if you're Xi Jinping, you're sitting there reading the paper and you realise, gee, Australia doesn't have, well, we've got enough ammunition to defend ourselves for 1 week, but no one wants to defend us anyway. So, and we advertise the fact. We celebrate every culture except our own, and then scratch our heads wondering why don't young people want to sign up to die for our country.